Cream me a cigarette, dog. They got me feeling crazy than a motherfucker.
Peace, y'all. The name of this video is called Tupac Wasn't Murdered. Orlando Anderson didn't kill Tupac. The government didn't kill Tupac. I know we believe in these kind of conspiracies and we think that Orlando Anderson killed him, or perhaps Keith killed him, or some type of gang retaliation from what took place inside the MGM theater that day when Tupac attacked Orlando Anderson. But the reality is, Tupac wasn't murdered. Now, for almost 23 years, and the reason why I say almost 23 years is because September 13th of next month will make 23 years Tupac has been deceased. But the reason why I say he wasn't murdered is because the doctors actually saved Tupac's life. The thing is that a lung was removed, other organs were removed. It was mentioned that Tupac might not walk correctly, that he might not talk. So all these things Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, had to take into consideration. Her son might have not been able to write rhymes again, do music. He might have not been able to do movies. He might have not been able to do interviews. Put it like this, Tupac living with a disability is equal to Muhammad Ali when he lived with his disability, if I'm not mistaken, the Parkinson's disease. And before this Parkinson's disease took effect on Muhammad Ali, he was very pro-black, outspoken. He was blunt, straight up. He told you about what was going on. He told you about the dynamics between white people and black people. He told you about the reason why he didn't want to go to war over there with the Viet Congs and everything. Muhammad Ali spoke the truth. When the Parkinson's disease kicked in, it stifled him to the point it silenced him. And once it silenced him, white people or those in Hollywood or those in business, particularly non-black people, just felt that they can capitalize off of that. Because now Muhammad Ali doesn't really have income coming in as he did when he was boxing. Whether or not, I don't know if he had property or any other businesses, but let's just say that he definitely probably made his family a lot of money off the movie Muhammad Ali that Will Smith did. People did songs about him. There was plenty of merchandise, whether it was clothes, posters, numerous of things of Muhammad Ali merchandise. But due to the fact of his disease, his Parkinson's, he wasn't able to be that individual that many in other generations knew. This would have been the same type of thing for Tupac. If Afeni Shakur decided not to pull the plug and she would allow Tupac to live with the one lung, perhaps he wasn't going to be able to walk. Perhaps he wasn't going to be able to talk right. It might have been hard to understand him. Perhaps this particular incident would have made Tupac not be the sex symbol that a lot of people in the industry believe Tupac to be. All this would have affected Tupac while he's living with this disability. He wouldn't have been. You've seen numerous of interviews with Tupac where he was just powerful, intelligent, where he was 17, answering questions that a 50 or 60 or even a 40-year-old person probably would have a problem answering. You've seen interviews with Ed Gordon. You've seen interviews with Vibe. You've seen interviews with BET. Tupac was not your average 20, 21-year-old, 22, 23, 24, 25-year-old. He was not your average. He had the wisdom of an old man. So, if Pac would have lived, he would have had these ailments, this disability. Shock G spoke about this 4 years ago in an interview. You know, there was plenty of people that said when they came in the room, Tupac saw him. He looked at him. Snoop Dogg is one of them. Mo Preem is one of them. He said Tupac wanted to say something so bad, but he couldn't. He said he just, he shook the bed. Shook the bed because he couldn't get it out. Yo-Yo went to go see Tupac. She said his head was just real swole. There was numerous of people. Suge Knight mentioned that he spoke to him. There was quite a few people who spoke to him. There was people that spoke to Tupac telling him, like, if you decide to live, this is how you're gonna live. Shock G said that when Tupac said that, a tear rolled back on his eye and he just closed his eyes. That's what Shock G knows. So we don't really know the conversation or the interaction between Afeni and her son, Tupac. So within those 6 to 7 days that Tupac was alive, she decided to pull the plug. So what I'm saying is, a lot of us are giving credit to Orlando Anderson. Orlando Anderson, if he is the shooter, he severely injured Tupac. People believe the government did it. If the government did it, the government severely injured Tupac. Tupac showed willpower. He showed strength. But we are not invincible. So because of that, Afeni decided to pull the plug. She did not want her son living with a disability. She did not want her son suffering for the rest of his life. Being the outspoken person that millions of us know Tupac to be. We would have been staring at Tupac the same way we stared at Ali when Muhammad Ali was alive. And then you have to watch old videos or show your youngsters, show your youngins, your grandchildren, or your nieces, your nephews, or just children, or those who wasn't familiar with Ali. You have to show them old videos from the 60s. From Cassius Clay till he made the transition to Muhammad Ali. You would have to show him what he used to be. This would be the same thing if Tupac lived with this disability. We would be showing videos of what Tupac used to be. If Tupac would have lived right now in 2019 and he wasn't able to talk or be boisterous or, just be the person that we knew, that we came to love from the time that he debuted with Digital Underground to the time that he died in Las Vegas. He wouldn't have been able to give your opinion on Donald Trump. Maybe he would have gave you a certain look. He probably wouldn't have been able to give you opinion of all these white people calling the police on people, selling water, lemonade, barbecuing in the park. He wouldn't have been able to save Eric Garner's life like the way Tupac saved that brother life when the two white officers was harassing his brother. We don't know to this day who that brother was. Reason being because that brother drove off in the sunset. Meanwhile, Tupac caught a case for saving his life. How many people you know in your generation, in our generation, I don't know many even in my generation, who have done a deed such as that and won, beat the case, and opened up a Pandora box of dirty cops, a ring of dirty cops. Nobody had heart like that. So Tupac living with a disability and him not being able to speak and inspire people, him being, Tupac not being able to save another brother's life real quick, there was a story of Tupac, which was told by his lawyer. I forget her name. They was going somewhere, and Tupac heard on the radio that a little girl was severely bitten by a pit bull. So Tupac said he wanted to go to the hospital to visit the little girl. So he told the driver to turn around. So now let's take you to the room. You probably had the mother, the father, or you probably had family of the little girl in the room crying over the little girl, at least thanking God that she didn't die or she wasn't mauled to death. They're praying. Then all of a sudden, a knock on the door. Tupac walks into the room. This is why they're praying. They didn't know Tupac was coming. Nobody knew about this. If you didn't see this documentary, I believe it was Thug Immortal, maybe something. It was one of the documentaries that came out after Tupac's death. So he came in to visit the little girl, and he said, I just came to see, how she was doing and see if anything I can help you with. And he told the mother, don't worry, I got the bill. That was real. A lot of people don't know about that. That was real. But if Tupac was to live with a disability and things of that nature, and he can't really make his money, and then on top of that, the people around him, he don't know who to trust. He had a lot of enemies. Still had police that hated him because he beat the charge. So how do you expect Tupac to be the Tupac that he needed to be if a disability was preventing him to become that or to be that servant God that he was? So again, Tupac wasn't murdered. The doctors actually saved his life. But if he would have lived, it would have came with consequences. It would have came with a struggle. It would have came with things that he probably didn't want to deal with. We all know in Tupac's music, he fantasized about death all the time. So was it real difficult for Afeni to make that decision? When Tupac made songs like Headline, Reading Murdered to Death. That's what we've been thinking for the last 20 years, 23 years, murdered. But Tupac wasn't murdered. There's songs where Tupac said, well, send me to hell because I ain't begging for my life. There ain't nothing worse than this cursed-ass, hopeless life. That was in Troublesome 96. He spoke about death all the time. And he could have beat it again. But his mother decided to pull the plug, or Tupac and his mother said, yo, pull the plug. So everything that Tupac might have not achieved if he lived with a disability, he was able to do that in death. And within 23 years, Tupac has been resurrected. He's talked about all the time. From Whack 100 trying to disrespect his legacy, to even Whack 100 and Mike Tyson even using Tupac's legacy to boost up their ratings, to Glasses Malone making a song called Tupac Must Die, to Tupac's name just constantly being mentioned, merchandise constantly being sold, a movie that wasn't that great, but a movie that was made. Tupac has made such an impact in death, more than he would have probably made if he lived with a disability. We probably would have forgot about Tupac if he lived with a disability. We might have. I'm not going to say we wouldn't have had, because we didn't forget about Ali. As harsh as this may sound, but people like Biggie Smalls, rest in peace, was murdered on the spot. People like Malcolm X was murdered on the spot. People like Fred Hampton was murdered on the spot. I don't even want to keep bringing up these names. Rest in peace to all of them. But Tupac actually lived for another 6 or 7 days until his mother, Afeni Shakur, decided to pull the plug. So I made this video for us to stop saying Tupac was murdered. According to the law, yes, Tupac was murdered. But in actuality, Tupac wasn't murdered. His mother decided to pull the plug because she couldn't bear to see her only son suffering with a disability for the rest of his life. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think, and I will debate with you however long it takes. Share this video, do what you gotta do, but just keep in mind, we can't give credit to somebody that killed Tupac because no, Tupac didn't die. You didn't murder him. He lived for another 6-7 days and he would have lived. You didn't murder him. You injured him. That's how strong that brother was. That's how strong that brother was. To say he was murdered is to spit on his grave. Even though Tupac said in his songs, headline reading murder to death, he prophesied that. But the reality is Tupac wasn't murdered. His mother decided to pull the plug because she didn't want to see her only son suffering with a severe disability for the rest of his life.